I can go.
Okay.
Are you ready for us, Ethan? Or?
Yeah, I'm recording now.
Perfect. Okay. So kind of one of the big takeaways I took from the reading, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the system level estimation is really supposed to be done kind of like at the very beginning of the project, kind of just to give to them. And then the component level is kind of something that takes place a little bit after, kind of when you've dug in and you've kind of figured out how the project's going to look, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it says the early phases of development versus like after the architectural design is already created or available. Yeah, totally agree with you.
I guess you could say like
with that.
Yeah, sorry. I guess you could say like the component level would be a little bit more of a detailed estimate compared to the system level, but
when you have the system level, when you're doing the system level estimate, that's before you have all the software configuration items figured out and from the requirements. So
the component level is also like it, because we already have those details, we're actually able to go more in depth, which then causes it to be more meticulous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, the system level is going to be a little bit more inaccurate than the component level. So I guess, what do you guys like? How do you guys think we are able to produce like a reliable system level estimation, if that makes sense, you know?
I don't know. I always just go back to like experience, you know, but I don't know, just figuring it out. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah, I think following those steps that they had in the estimating guidebook will help us do that.
Yeah.
Steps are pretty similar in both cases too. You start with identifying like your different items and then allocating the resources at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it helps to understand because like one of the main differences it talked about was that one involves environment variables, whereas the other one doesn't exactly talk about identifying your environment variables. So I think kind of along your question, Riley, is like how to figure out how to make a system, how to do like a reliable system estimation. You kind of need to understand that main difference, because I think that might be a big enough difference to really depend on what how big of a change your knowing your environment variables does. So do you guys have like so what would you guys say for that? Like how big of an impact is the environment variables change?
Do you remember, is that only in component level or is that in this?
Yeah, that's only,
I believe
that's only
I may have said
component.
it backwards. Yeah, only component.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To be honest, I actually didn't do a lot of research on that specifically, so I don't know.
Yeah, all right. I didn't either. That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
No, you're good, dude.
Well, I mean, it could be said just looking at the two functions themselves. Both functions use the CK and the SE, which in the component, the CK is proportionality constant and the SE is the effective software size. So, I mean, I do think that the environment factors do play a part. But I think like, I don't know, I think in the, I guess it just goes back to what you said. Like when you do the system estimate, since you're not taking into account those environment factors, you might just need to leave a little bit more wiggle room in your estimate, just because, you know, you need to add those environment factors later when you do the components level estimation. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, but it also affects our productivity, I think, because in the test it says specifically productivity factor for CK.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that is a pretty big deal. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think too. Like I'm not sure how much it changes the number exactly on the complexity with the variable D for like difficulty and complexity, because there's that little box that we used in the quiz where it kind of varied between the levels what number it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's probably a lot of backing to that somewhere. Someone did research and they figured out, oh, this number is a good multiple according to this complexity. But I think being able to understand and like figure out that number early on is probably pretty important. Like kind of what you were saying, Ethan, or someone was talking about, just like doing it multiple times, getting so familiar with that. It's like, okay, this is a very complex idea, or this is not a complex idea.
Yeah.
The more familiar you are with that, then you're going to save a lot of time in your estimating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Did anyone understand how the environment variables, like how they, like I saw them in the equation and they were summed up. Does anyone understand like how they, like where those come from?
Like the numbers, like
Yeah. The numbers.
where they get the, because some of them are like between 1.4 and 3.6.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
things that you're talking about.
That was so weird. I don't know where that came from
Yeah.
either.
I thought
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
kind
it.
of.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
No, go for it. Go for it.
So, okay, I don't know if this helps at all, but in the test, it actually asked a question about it. Just defining the F of I. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it says
Yeah.
like the environment factors are one of 4 categories. They're personnel, management, environment, and product. So I don't really know how they compute those into one, but like, yeah, I guess those, I don't know if that helps at all.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that stuff out too. Like where I kind of wish
In-
the book was a little more explicit about some of the definitions.
In
But-
section, in the appendix in section I-11, it talks about like a range, and it says like a lot
Okay.
of them are in the range of like 0 to 10. And then it gives reference to another table or another section I-8, which I guess is all the variables. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm
it
not
does-
sure
Are
how
you
it
looking at
works.
I5? Are you looking at I5? Is that what you're at? Page 209.
Let me.
I'm also seeing that a lot of times those are a percentage. So for example, on page 35, it
Right.
has K is equal to 1.21 to 1.40, and that is actually a percentage of 21 to 40%, depending on the difficulty. So that is something interesting to think about as well.
Yeah. Did you
It
guys notice
was-
one of the questions on the quiz? Sorry, keep going.
Oh, sorry. It was I-8.
I8. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice one of the questions on the quiz was worth 0 points?
Yeah,
That's weird.
I still do it every time. Dang it.
I know. I was wondering why he added 0 points, because it was talking about the process. I don't remember which one, but it was one of the processes for component or system.
It's for the complete system level, and it was because it's all in order. He already had them in order.
Yeah.
So you just did 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh.
5, 6, 7. And so he's like, why would I make this worth points if it's literally just go down the line?
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
One thing that I thought was really significant was that the system level is used for the approximate value of the system complexity, whereas the component level was the system level approach. The component level can actually project a development schedule where the system level cannot. I don't know if that's something you guys saw or really thought about, but basically, like, we can't even like give a development schedule unless we do the component level estimation. So even if we do have this system level estimation, like, we can't tell them when the project's going to be done.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. I think they do both need to be done, but system level gets done first. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I
That
think it
makes
just goes, it goes to that, just the fact that the component level is going to be a little bit more detailed.
Yeah.
Just because by the time we do the component level, we actually kind of know what the project's going to need.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But
Yeah.
no, that
That-
is super interesting though.
I was gonna say, I think it kind of depends too on like how familiar you are with what the project is, because in programming, we have libraries, we have all these different options where we can like take things from that we've already used before and apply them. And so depending on what you know, you can either like system level to components like top down, you're going like bigger and you're getting smaller and more specific, or you can do the bottom up where you take things you like, oh, we've already done this and this and this. We can use that to build this thing. And then we can obviously use that for this system. And so you can kind of go back, but actually that's an important point to distinguish.
So I guess just going to the question that he asked is, why do you guys think that we need both?
I think for a system, you need a system level one, because like before, like you need to be able to tell them how long it'll take, like when they give you the rough, like this is what we want, how long is it going to take, how much is it going to cost. And once you have all that actually sorted out, you can tell them, okay, it's actually going to take this long.
No, yeah, I think that's a good point.
I would agree, and I would just add to, like if you think about agile developments versus like a waterfall style, like say if you don't know how long each component would take in each system, if you're trying to do agile and create like a minimum viable product and then update it and add stuff later that's not necessarily needed at the moment, you got to know each little intricate component and each part of it to know how you're going to do an agile performance. If you don't, then you're kind of stuck with this waterfall, or this kind of like, well, you just don't really know. You're just going to kind of time it, and you can actually get like a cool agile schedule and make it effective and useful for the end user in a timely manner.
I would agree. To me, it seems like the system level could be cut out, but in all honesty, like I think it's mostly just to kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, provide comfort for the customer. Like as soon as you start, just so the customer kind of knows what's going on. So I feel like the system level is a little bit more geared towards the customer, whereas the component level is a little bit more down to earth, geared towards the actual development team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like some stakeholders don't really need to know all the intricate details.
But no. I'm just seeing if there's stuff we need to discuss with it. I mean, I think we kind of covered it all. We talked about why we need them.
A little more.
What was that? Sorry.
Was that me? My internet's cutting in and out, so that might be something weird. I didn't say anything though.
Oh, okay. So we talked about why we need to have both of them, and we talked a little bit how to calculate them. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to add about like calculating them or anything?
I know that they both use the function point analysis, which is only for predicting the size. So they both use that. But otherwise, like their processes are pretty similar. I know Ethan already kind of mentioned that.
Yeah.
There's just like one more step added in the other one, and then they kind of change or flip the organization of like how you did this at the very end.
Do you guys feel confident that you could like perform these, that you could do both of these, like with the information from just the reading and like a very basic example? Like, do you feel like you could do an estimate do the estimate?
I mean, I think with a little more research on it, maybe, but honestly, it doesn't make sense right now.
We're gonna have to.
I think with the component, I think I'd be a lot more comfortable just because I think I could just plug in the values a lot better with the component versus the system.
We are doing the system though. We're not doing the component this week.
Yeah.
From what I was looking at least. Where is that?
Okay. I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat. So.
Oh, actually, we might be doing both. I'm sorry. Yeah,
we are doing both. Yeah.
No, you're right.
but that's just my opinion.
Cool.
And thankfully,
No,
you
I'm
said
with you.
like we don't have to go super in depth. We're just given those 5 SIs, and then we're really just good to go. But
Yeah.
Gotcha.
should be pretty simple.
Cool.
I hope.
Well, you know, that puzzle equation actually was a little intense.
Yeah.
For me. I don't know about you guys, but
I was like trying to figure out like, okay, so the size of the puzzle with the amount of people needs to be like the same. And so I was trying to do like an and or in the function.
Should I, are we
Wow.
done talking with, or
Yeah,
doing the discussion? Okay,
yeah, I think we're done with the discussion. Sorry. Ethan.
sorry.